One of the largest and most intimidating warships in the modern inventory of the Klingon Defense Force, the Vorcha attack cruiser is a thoroughly modern and very advanced design which endured a lengthy development program before entering service just in time to see action in the Klingon Civil War in limited numbers, going on to serve throughout the various wars of the 2370s and emerge as a pillar of the Klingon Defense Force moving forward. Measuring in at 481 meters long, 341 meters wide, and 106 meters tall, the Vorcha is armed with 18 small and medium-sized disruptor banks spread across the hull for complete coverage, with a single large disruptor cannon located in the forward head of the ship beneath the bridge. The class also featured 3 burst-fire torpedo launchers with significant magazine capacity. It should be noted that early members of the class suffered from poor design of their targeting sensors, making their fire rather inaccurate before updates to software remedied these issues. Vorcha, as designed, had an economical cruising speed of warp factor 6, war cruise of warp factor 7.2, and maximum allowable speed of warp factor 9.6 for up to 8 hours. With a crew of nearly 2,000 when fully manned with naval and ground combat personnel. The Vorcha class can trace its early development back to an internal KDF fleet analysis paper which circulated amongst senior Imperial leadership in 2349. The paper, written by anonymous sources, laid bare then major limitations and technological issues with many of the classes then in service when compared to contemporary designs in the fleets of foreign powers. The paper paid significant attention to the many deficiencies of the then brand new Cavort-class cruisers. This report was quickly seized by those in government who wished to see the fleet completely modernized, with older classes, mostly pre-Khitomer designs, retired from service and completely new classes introduced. The report shocked the government, and a significant investigation was launched. When it revealed its findings some years later, it largely proved the earlier paper correct in its conclusions. Heads rolled in the senior KDF leadership, with many of the leadership who had allowed the fleet to fall into such a state of neglect being retired, either by written order or blade. Now convinced of the need to modernize the fleet, the next question facing the government was how far they wished to go, with proposals being put forward ranging from simple updates and modernizations to existing classes, the more cost-effective option, to the mass scrapping of the then-current Navy, which would be replaced by a half-dozen brand-new, clean slate designs. The debate raged until a compromise was reached in 2352. Often dubbed the Na-Dev, or meeting point, the agreed-upon Fleet Modernization Act of 2352 called for the very oldest classes of ships to be deactivated and retired from service, with the remaining classes being thoroughly updated with new weapons, sensors, reactors, and shields. Finally, approval was granted for a handful of completely new ship designs, both a mid-sized attack cruiser, what would become the Vorcha, as well as a fully modernized variant of the long-serving bird of prey, both ships utilizing similar components where possible to save cost. While development of the bird of prey proceeded more or less smoothly, with the new design entering service in large numbers by 2360, the larger cruiser languished in a seemingly eternal cycle of revision and design alteration, with the committee tasked with developing the new class disagreeing about nearly every issue and feature that the ship would have. Things remained more or less the same with the Vorcha until 2364, when the design committee was dismissed by a fed-up KDF leadership and a new, smaller team appointed. This done, progress proceeded rapidly, and a testbed vessel entered service for extensive testing in 2367, with full-scale production beginning late in that year. Entering service in only limited numbers right at the start of the Klingon Civil War, the majority of Vorcha-class ships which did manage to see action would serve with Gowron's loyalist faction. Taking no losses during the war, the class gave an all-around positive impression to its crews, being a marked improvement over the older classes that preceded it in almost every way. With the end of the war and Gowron victorious, the Vorcha was ordered into increased production, with new members of the class being built to replace the Katinga class in most roles with the battle fleet. Production was in full swing by the time of the Dominion War, though it had not yet entirely phased out the older classes by the time the Empire became embroiled in the conflict. Alongside the brand new cutting-edge Negvar, the Vorcha served as the centerpiece of Klingon formations, often acting as a fast strike wing of the larger fleets, or even as flagships in their own right of smaller formations. With the post-war drawdown, Chancellor Martok has taken the opportunity to enact wide-reaching reforms to the KDF. Wholesale scrapping of more outdated designs, construction of new vessels, and controversially, the dismissal of officers lacking the credentials to perform their duties, regardless of their relationships with the great houses. The Vorcha is to play a key role in the rebuilt Klingon Navy, filling the roles of mid-sized cruiser, fast attack element, and patrol ship. The class has actually received its first midlife refit in concert with these plans, with improved weaponry, sensors, and propulsion systems being installed on both newly built vessels as well as older ships. With the resources and effort devoted to this program, it is likely that the Empire intends to keep the Vorcha a common sight in their fleet for some time to come. Entering service just in time for a brutal civil war after a prolonged and agonizing development, the Vorcha class has quickly proved itself to be a capable and durable design of warship, being one of the first examples of an all-modern class to enter service with the Empire in nearly half a century. The class's sterling combat record and rugged design has ensured that the class will likely remain in full production for some time to come, and remain in frontline service for much longer than that. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like. Do the normal, like, comment, subscribe things that much better professional YouTubers are always telling people to do. Thank you, as always, to the channel's patrons. There's a link to the Patreon below. Being a patron gets you a couple of perks. You get videos a day in advance from when they go live. You get monthly votes on video topics, which reminds me I need to do that quickly because it's the 3rd as of recording, and I need to get that vote out. So I'll do that right after this is edited and uploading, probably. And yeah, Patreon is a really good place if you want kind of sneak peeks and kind of a say on the content of the channel moving forward. I mean, really, I don't have too much else to plug. There's not too much else going on at the moment, so I think I can keep this relatively short. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. A brownie point if you've made it this far somehow, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.